Thank you, Kate. I'm Stephanie Ribback. I'm a trustee of Wycombe Refugee Partnership. It's a great pleasure to come to Trinity because I know how committed this congregation is to helping people who've been forced to flee for their lives. And with that commitment in your hearts, I'm sure you too were shocked last weekend to hear of a wave of protests around the country, all anti-immigrant stuff. You may even have begun to wonder, well, have they got a point? Is it such a terrible thing that we have more people coming into the country? It seems a good moment to remind ourselves of the foundation of our faith and practice. All major religions, including Christianity, have some version of the saying, treat others as you wish they'd treat you. And the others are all others. They're not just those who happen to share our nationality and religion and background. So, what does the Bible say specifically about how we should treat refugees and asylum seekers? Well, Alan has just read us 3 passages which answer that. From Leviticus, when a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated like your native born. That's pretty clear, isn't it? And Alan read from Hebrews, keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without realizing it. And Jesus' famous parable of the sheep and the goats is unequivocal. As you did it to the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. It's monstrous that some people, especially in America, claim that they hate refugees because they want to keep the country Christian. Excuse me? As you did it to one of the least of my brothers, you did it to me. That's what Christian means. Because of the claims being spouted by the far right, I'd like to do a bit of myth busting. There are 4 myths that you hear all the time. Number 1, this is a small country, why do they all come here? In fact, it's developing countries, much poorer than we are, who take the majority of the world's refugees. The UK takes about 1% of the 27 million people who've been forcibly displaced across the world. Myth number 2. You often hear the term illegal immigrants. There is no such thing as illegal immigrants. Under international law, anyone has the right to apply for asylum in any of the countries that were signatories to the 1951 Convention. And that recognizes that if you're fleeing for your life, you may have to use irregular means to escape your country and get into the country where you want to claim asylum. The UK doesn't play fair on this one. It makes it as difficult as possible for anyone to come into the country, and then it says, oh, but you can only claim asylum once you're here. And then, to cap it all, we say, oh, but they're illegal immigrants. They can't claim asylum. They came in illegally. What were they supposed to do? And just as a postscript on that one, there's nothing in international law to say that an asylum seeker has to seek asylum in the first country they enter. That's a myth, again. But my myth number 3 is that refugees are a drain on the state. Refugees actually have a huge amount to contribute to our country. I mean, one example, in the medical field, there are about 1,200 medically qualified refugees on the database of the British Medical Association. And it takes something like £25,000 to retrain one of those doctors so that he can work in the NHS or she can work in the NHS. If you're taking somebody from scratch, it costs 10 times that amount, between £200,000 and £250,000. Myth number 4, people seeking asylum get large handouts from the state. If you call £49.18 a week to live on a large handout, that would work. The thing is that asylum seekers are not allowed to do paid work, which is utterly stupid, because if they were allowed to, it would mean millions and millions of pounds coming into the Treasury. But we try to make life as difficult as possible for them and say they can't work. And we'll give them this tiny amount to cover food, clothes, over-the-counter medication, bus fares, internet, telephone, school uniforms, all that. The cost of benefits and accommodation for asylum seekers is so high because the Home Office has been so slow at processing application. Sometimes people are waiting in limbo for years, not allowed to work, with not enough money to do anything sensible. And if they're professionals, you know, if you're 7 years away from your profession, it's very difficult to get a job. So it's against all that background that I'd like to give you a few snapshots from Wycombe Refugee Partnership, WRP. Some figures. The total number of beneficiaries registered with WRP at the moment is 215. That's 60 households. We've had 22 applications since the end of May, an average of 1.3 per week. Most of those applications are from families, but there are a few single people. And the numbers are going up because of the opening of John Bland House, which is accommodation for asylum seekers organised by Clearspring, and that has about 58 beds. We have, as we call it, onboarded 22 people from there so far, with asylum seekers from Kuwait, Honduras, Yemen, Trinidad and Tobago, Albania, Turkey, Pakistan, and Cameroon. And the ways we help depend on people's individual needs. They include providing supermarket vouchers, helping with applying for school places, helping people register with doctors and dentists, and getting domestic items, furniture and clothes. We've helped people pay for driving lessons and bus passes, and enabled young people to attend sporting and cultural events. We also have a halfway house provided by the Quakers in which we can lodge a family at risk of homelessness. Giving lists and figures can alienate you a little bit from the individuals concerned. So I'd like to finish by telling you 3 stories that have touched me deeply. And as this week has seen the A-level results come out and people getting into university or not, I'll focus on 3 students whom we've helped. We had one young man who was applying to university to read engineering. He applied 3 years running, was offered a place each year, and couldn't take it up because he couldn't afford it. He was an asylum seeker, not eligible for a student grant, and to cap it all, the university said, oh, well, he's from overseas, he'll have to pay double the fees of a British student, on £49.18 a week. The 4th year this happened, WRP supported him, offered to lend him money if necessary, contacted the university, told them about his situation, and he got a scholarship to cover his fees and his living expenses for 3 years. This was 3 years ago, and this young man has just graduated with a first. So Britain will have a new first-class engineer, somebody whom others might have put on the rubbish heap because he was only an asylum seeker. We lent money to a young woman who wanted to train to become a doctor. She did so well in her first-year exams that the university gave her a scholarship to cover her fees for the whole of the medical course, and as you know, that's a long one. And this is somebody else who'll give back to this country 100-fold. I don't know if any of you can remember, back before the pandemic, I came to the hall here with a schoolgirl from Syria called Dana to tell you about Wycombe Refugee Partnership then. few days ago, I asked her to give me an update on what had happened to her in the meantime, what she's been doing, so that I could share it with you. And I'd love to read you some of the emails she sent back. I'm nearly at graduation, not quite there yet. I finished my final year in mathematics and computer science at Warwick. I just need to complete a few final things in September before, hopefully, graduating in January. Since the speech we gave together, one here, a lot has happened that I'd love to share. I did really well in my GCSEs, all grade 9s, and A-levels, 3 A stars and 1 A, including nearly full marks in economics. I went to university and won the Younger Achiever Award, giving a speech at the House of Commons. At Warwick, I received awards for academic excellence, including being one of the top achievers in my second year. In my third year, I met King Charles and spoke on behalf of the young generation who came to the UK as children and now feel they have 2 homes. My final year research focused on education, specifically interactive learning tools to support teachers. It scored very highly. I'm currently working as a product manager intern at a digital construction company. I don't suppose many of us even know what that is, but this girl is clearly in a good place. And she says, I've been accepted to the London School of Economics to study for a master's in behavioural science, which I'm incredibly excited about. It's so kind of you to want to update Trinity URC on what I've been up to. It brings back lovely memories of the day we spoke together. All of those achievements are from a young woman who's been studying in a foreign language with her studies interrupted by COVID. It's a privilege to have been able to help her and others to rebuild their lives and contribute to this country. If any of you are interested in becoming more involved with refugees and asylum seekers, do pick up one of these leaflets in the meeting room behind and come and talk either to me or to my husband, Michael Bowker, sitting there, who was the chair of Wycombe Refugee Partnership until recently. Thank you.